If everybody can take their seats and we will get started, I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome to the Select Board meeting. It's
Recording in progress.
There we go. We're recording too. It's November 18th and 6 o'clock. Before we get started, I'll just read that pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, I'm informing everybody that an audio and a video recording of this meeting is being made so that everybody is aware. And with that, we will begin. We have a complete streets informational session for everyone here, and we entered into this a couple years ago. I think we're now currently on the Tier 2 phase of the plan, but with that, I'd hand it off to Nick, right? Is it Nick?
Nick.
Yeah, so you want to introduce yourself and show us what you got?
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come in and present to the Select Board tonight. So grateful you could come in a little early and let us give you some updates on the Complete Streets process. So my name is Nick Russo, Senior Transportation Planner at the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission. I'm joined by my colleague Brian Griffiths, Transportation Planner as well at BRPC. We've been working with the town of Lee now for the past couple of months to develop the Tier 2 prioritization plan for Complete Streets. We're joined by a few of the members of the steering committee as well, Chief DeSantis and Catherine and Brooke, so thank you for joining us as well. And yeah, we're looking forward to completing this process by the end of the calendar year of 2025. So we're in a pretty quick timeline, and we're grateful to have the chance to come into the meeting tonight to show you where we're at. So basically for tonight, we plan to give you an overview of the Complete Streets program for anyone who's not familiar with it. There's been a couple of updates to the program this year as well. So it's actually, we'll get into it, but we're actually kind of retiring the tier system, and it kind of turns into more of just a regular grant program through the MassDOT Grant Central. So we'll get into that a little bit as well, and happy to answer any questions. So we will jump into just kind of an overview of what Complete Streets are and what Lee's policy is. So do you want to jump in and cover these, Ryan, or do you want to just cover them? All right. Sounds good.
Point. You can point.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, Complete Streets, it's a statewide program. And is meant to provide safety and accessibility for all users of the roadways to make truly complete streets for all modes of transportation. That includes people walking, cycling, people riding transit, and motorists as well, emergency vehicles and commercial vehicles. And people of all ages and abilities should feel welcome and comfortable on our public streets. So this is a statewide program, and up till now it's been like an opt-in program where first the town or city opts into Tier 1, which is where you attend the training and pass a Complete Streets policy through the legislative body of the town. So that's Tier 1, and Lee completed that a few years ago. And according to Lee's Tier 1 Complete Streets policy, the vision and purpose is that Lee recognizes that all projects, new, maintained, or reconstruction, are potential opportunities to apply Complete Streets design principles. So the town will, to the maximum extent practical, design, construct, maintain, and operate all streets to operate for a comprehensive and integrated street network. The best practices that the town will adopt focus on developing a connected, integrated network that serves all road users. Complete Streets will be integrated into the policies, planning, and design of all public and private projects, including new construction, reconstruction, rehab, repair, and maintenance. And the town shall make Complete Streets practices a routine part of everyday operations, shall approach every transportation project as an opportunity to improve the streets and transportation network for all users, and work in coordination with other departments, agencies, and jurisdictions. So that was kind of the framework for the town to just go moving forward to keep working towards Complete Streets, whether it's through the Tier 2 program or just on your own whenever the opportunity strikes. So currently we're at Tier 2. I put the asterisk there since I mentioned the tier program is kind of being retired. But for now, we're finishing up our Tier 2 prioritization plan. We just want to see that through no matter what. So we're going to still continue that process, even though the tier program is retired at this point. But as of up till this point, Tier 2 is used for unlocking the funding to implement Complete Streets projects. You would submit the Tier 2 prioritization plan to MassDOT. They would review and approve it, let you know if there are any issues with potential projects that weren't either compatible with the program or took place on state highway. These are only for roads that are on town-owned right-of-way. At a minimum, we need 15 qualifying projects to submit for the program. And the projects are ranked or prioritized through an objective scoring process, which we're currently working through at the moment with the steering committee. So the asterisk, though, is that the program is recently overhauled and the tier system is retired. So moving forward, any town can apply to the Complete Streets program via Grant Central, and up to $1 million can be awarded to qualifying Complete Streets projects. It's a competitive grant cycle once a year. The caveat being that if towns do have a Tier 1 or Tier 2 plan, they were given extra consideration towards the competitive process. So it does still help the town's advantage to have this prioritization plan in place. And with that, we can jump in. Or any questions before I jump into the actual proposals we have? Any questions about the Tier 1, Tier 2 process? Cool. Well, we'll keep going then. So we've been working with the steering committee over the past couple of months. We did a couple of site walks a few weeks ago, and we've heard from everyone on the committee about what they see as potential priorities and hot spots where we can look at funding options. So we're just going to go through and take a look at what we have so far. And these are all purely conceptual. Nothing is set in stone, but this is what we've heard so far, and the point is to hear from you all and get your feedback. So please let us know what you think. We'll kick off with a potential new bus stop project. Currently, there's an existing bus stop on Main Street near Hyde Place Senior Housing. The bus stop in the other direction is down near the T intersection where is it Main Street and I guess Park Street, West Park Street. And the goal is to move the two bus stops right across from each other to make it more intuitive for bus riders and easier for the BRTA operations. So we figured we'd leverage the opportunity to apply funding to either build like a better bus shelter there, any other amenities like lighting, a bench, a pullout for the bus. This is in front of the library, I believe, on the other side of the street. And the current bus stop that's at the far end of Main Street would be retired basically, and that section of street can be repurposed for something else. Either, could become just normal parking, could become like an extended curb for just benches or greenery, could be up to the town, but we're focusing just on the bus stop here at the moment. Next is thinking about the new open space at 300 Stockbridge Road. We heard from several folks that there's a potential for a connecting path that can go through this property to bring people through this beautiful open space that the town has acquired. This dotted line is purely just for conceptual purposes, it's just a little treasure map dotted line here, but I just kind of made it try to look nice and meandering, but it could be anything in this property. But the vision was to at least connect kind of across between the residential neighborhood to the east and to Stockbridge Road to the west, where the frontage actually is on the road. So
Nick, if I could, a question here. Even though this isn't a sidewalk, it's not used by pedestrian or autos or whatever, it still can be part of this particular program.
Yes, shared use paths can be a
Okay.
appropriate project.
Okay.
Qualified.
Okay.
Expense.
All right. So are we going to get is one of these projects then going to be a sidewalk on Stockbridge Road where there aren't any to be able to let people get to this by?
That could also be in the listing. It would be probably, looking at what the existing sidewalk inventory is, it would be a pretty long stretch of sidewalk.
Yeah, I know.
So it might have to be done in phases.
That's a problem.
Yeah. So.
Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure that even though it wasn't open for autos and, all that it was still legitimate for putting it in. All right, thank you.
Yes.
I think there was a discussion about the sidewalk on Stockbridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before you continue, these are all potential projects, or are we actively looking to pursue these projects?
These are simply just a list of
Just
suggestions.
ideas. Suggestions from you, okay. Yeah.
Yep, suggestions from our staff with the input of the steering committee.
And at this time, there's no money value to anything at this moment, just let's pick and
Here's
then we
some
get money
things that we can
value.
apply for
Okay.
fundings for.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The cost estimate will be the final step. There will be not a price tag, but a general estimate
Right.
of the order of magnitude for how much these would cost.
Okay.
And that'll be the last step of this process.
Great, thank
So
you.
you'll see dollar figures in the final prioritization plan. Jumping over to Center Street and Main Street, our observations when we were walking on the site visits, there's a lot of blacktop here. It is a very busy intersection with a lot of truck traffic through there, so I understand that there's a need to have a lot of room to maneuver, especially with the train tracks there. I saw there could be a potential to at least reclaim a little bit of asphalt space and maybe create some sort of a rain garden or a plaza on the kind of northeast corner of the, can you see the cursor there? No. Yeah, like on the northeast corner. It would, for one, kind of reduce the curb radius there to slow people turning into there, especially with the crosswalk right at the bend there. It would also help maybe to give more visibility for traffic coming out of East Center Street, so there's less time to have to accelerate and join that flow of traffic. So that's another potential option, just to reclaim some asphalt space, add a little bit of permeable surface to this kind of big slab of asphalt.
And it looks like there's an okay radius for trucks turning.
From Main Street onto East Center?
That's a good question. Is there a good amount of truck traffic that makes that turn?
A lot, yeah,
Okay.
and there will be, maybe not as much when they do the bridge, but in the future, yeah, this is heavily traveled by trucks going to lanes and whatnot.
Okay.
So just something to think about,
Yeah,
the turning
that's
radius
good to
for
know.
coming kind of north on Main Street.
Okay.
That's good, but no, it looks good.
Yeah. No, if we need to preserve that turning radius, that's something that we want to consider. So I appreciate that insight. Next is kind of a small but mighty stretch of sidewalk that we think would be effective on East Street. Right now, there's a residential subdivision up to the north where there's sidewalks kind of on each side street, but there's nothing on the main stretch of East Street. And if we can bridge that gap, it's only 500 feet long or so, you could theoretically allow for a safe way to walk from those neighborhood streets all the way to the Lee Elementary School campus via Hartwood Road. So something to consider. Right now, if you look at it, basically the sidewalk just ends at the road there. So we want people to be able to turn right and continue up up East Street and then rejoin the Hartwood Road sidewalk. So that'd be kind of a, like I said, small but mighty project that could have a outsized impact in my view. It would get people connected to the school campus and the downtown in general from that direction. Another sort of small connection project that could be beneficial is on Fairview Street. There's a gap of the sidewalk. I think Chris pointed out at one of our meetings that basically the sidewalk ends just south of the Mass Turnpike overpass and then starts up again on the other side of the overpass. So you're kind of dumped into the road and have to walk under the bridge there, kind of that dark tunnel, just sharing that road. So if we were able to just continue the sidewalk all the way through there, it could be a great, easy win to get a continuous sidewalk pretty much all the way down Fairview Street. And that could also help connect eventually to that 300 Stockbridge Road parcel from the other side. So we thought that was another kind of low-hanging fruit that could be funded by this program. Kind of a 3-in-1 here is along High Street. There's a few different crosswalks. They're a very diverse set of crosswalks here. The farthest one on I think that's the north because I turned this to face north is to the left. So there's the one that's kind of two legs joining into one, which is, it makes sense since there's kind of a central path that comes out of the building and then the two legs on the other side. For full accessibility, especially for people with low vision, I think it'd be great to square off those crossings and make them more of a standard, just two sets of crosswalks, just to make it more predictable, more standard for anyone crossing. Same with the middle crosswalk at Crossway Street. We'd love to kind of reduce that skew angle of the crosswalk going across the street. It both reduces the crossing length, the time you have to be in the street, and it's also, again, more predictable and more easy to manage for someone if they're, say, with low vision or a guide animal that want to take them straight across perpendicular as much as possible. So we'll want the standardized landing ramps there with the tactile strips and everything. And then finally on the furthest south leg at Franklin Street, we just want to add a fourth crossing leg to that intersection just to square it off. There's 3 currently, but nothing on the southernmost leg. This one that we noticed when we were walking through there. But there's a receiving sidewalk on each side of it, so might as well square it off and make sure the standard ADA ramps and everything are there as well. So this could either be 3 separate projects or 3 in 1, depending on how the town wants to pursue that if they want to go that direction. One of the bigger projects would be potentially Marble Street sidewalk reconstruction. We noticed from our sidewalk inventory that was completed by our subcontractor that this sidewalk is in a fairly old condition. So it'd be great to get that brought back up to new state with concrete and a good curb. This would help to connect people on Marble Street to even like the Big Y grocery store up here. If you're able to walk down this way, you could cut over Old Pleasant Street and get to Big Y to grocery shop potentially. And there's also an athletic field over on this side where a crosswalk could come in handy if kids want to go play at the playground or want to feel safer just getting to that field. So
just to pause right here, we got that, because I've actually gotten some questions about Old Pleasant Street from sort of where it's written there to Big Y, because that's lacking in sidewalks too. There's like a sidewalk to get you across the bridge, but then it ends, and then you're on the street until you get to Big Y. And that's actually a weird intersection too, because people come flying off of 102 and coming out of Big Y. So it's like that's actually a spot that people have raised to me as like a dangerous spot to walk, and so maybe that's another intersection you guys, if you haven't already looked.
Yeah, that one was not yet on the listing, but that would be a great way to pair with this one, or make it a sort of a piecemeal sort of like phased program. So yeah, let's definitely note that one down as well. Thank you. I think it's great to be able to really connect not just work and play, but like shopping as well. Yeah. Big Y, grocery stores, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that'd definitely be good to consider. This one at Orchard Street and Franklin Street we talked a bit about. This is kind of my idea that came from our conversations. Currently it's a kind of a small little island that has that utility pole in the middle. Traffic can flow both directions on both sides of the island, which kind of seemed to me is just someone coming in from the outside. That seems kind of confusing. So it could potentially, we would look into shifting the traffic pattern to be you just keep right on the island, and anyone coming the other way would stay left. It'd be kind of looking at this right now, is kind of a tight left turn from that direction, so that shape could change a little bit, because right now I do see how it's kind of a very tight turn to go left.
If you're on Orchard Street turning left onto Franklin,
this maneuver here would be tight, so we could change that shape or make it smaller or make that radius bigger. It was just kind of a shape I drew on Photoshop. But just something to start the discussion. And then we'd also add a crosswalk to that third leg of the intersection, since the schools are just out Orchard Street a little bit further. Kids walking to school could, have a legitimate place to cross the street here and continue on their path up to the schools. Just kind of reduce the complexity of the intersection and make it more of a standard, predictable type of junction. Looking at Railroad Street next. Again, that was indicated in the sidewalk inventory as starting to be, deteriorating a bit. So just kind of a standard sidewalk replacement there along about 1,000 feet of Railroad Street. We would also look into maybe tying in at some point when the public safety complex is built. There's a current crosswalk. I think it's shows up over here, kind of faded on the right side. There could be a potential to either realign or rebuild that crosswalk to, be compatible with the public safety complex, however that ends up turning out. So, something to think about in the future. This one's another short but sweet project on Summer Street. Basically, there's a sidewalk that ends at this driveway on this side of Summer Street. And then there's a sidewalk on Prospect Street that ends right at the intersection. So there's this little 200-foot gap where there's no sidewalk. So if you wanted to walk down and continue on to Route 20, you'd have to basically cross twice to go across Summer Street and then come over and then cross again. So could save people a couple crossings if we just bridge that gap of sidewalk that just never got filled in, I guess. There's a little bit of a slope, so there might have to be some retaining wall, I think, on one of those properties. That'd be one of the extra expenses for this little stretch. But then that could be a qualifying expense if it's to actually build the sidewalk. Another sidewalk project, East Center Street, also indicated in the inventory as being deteriorating. So we would basically reconstruct the stretch of sidewalk along the south side of Center Street from Columbia Street up to Graylock. And it'd be great to also install a crosswalk at the intersection of Graylock Street, since the sidewalk does continue along East Center Street, but there's no actual crosswalk there at the moment, even though there's a sidewalk on both sides of the street. From there, we were also looking at the Lee Middle and High School campus. There's currently a crosswalk that extends from the walking path over to the sidewalk on Orchard Street. I believe that's Orchard Street, right? I forgot to label it. It'd be great to square off that angle, make it a shorter crossing distance. I guess my question also, kind of like from Gordon's insight on the truck turning radius. I don't know if any buses are turning this corner here onto Orchard Street, because it'd be an opportunity to reduce that turning radius. But if it's, if it needs that extra width for the buses to turn, that's something we want to consider as well. But that's one of the opportunities we saw looking at this junction. And those were all the projects that I had on the list. But I also wanted to kind of put it in a bigger picture. It might be hard to see from this distance, but looking at where all these projects took place, I kind of saw them fall into a couple of different regions or loops around the town. So looking at the far west, like we have the two projects of 300 Stockbridge Road and Fairview Street. And if we can link those two, and as you mentioned, the Stockbridge Road sidewalk would need to be extended as well, and that'd be a fairly big project. It could use up probably an entire budget on its own. But if that were to be also completed, you could have a nice kind of walking recreation loop around this kind of western part of the town. Would connect you to the 300 Stockbridge Road parcel, and then even the Greenock Country Club over here. So kind of a recreation-focused walking loop. To the south, the primary goal would be to connect people to the Big Y, as I mentioned. And if we could complete the Marble Street sidewalk, and of course the Lee Bikeway, which is also an under design, would complete that whole loop to get people kind of linked up to Big Y from downtown. So that would be the context of those improvement projects there. And then finally up north, the primary goal would be access to the school campuses, as I mentioned towards the beginning. And if we can complete that short gap along East Street, as well as improve the sidewalks along East Center Street and some of those crosswalk projects, you could have a nice kind of continuous loop that would connect those neighborhoods to the school campus and then ultimately the downtown area. And all of these projects would basically be linked with the existing, sidewalks that are already along kind of this spine here that I drew in the blue line. So I like to look at things in the big picture. So to me, that's kind of showing how these projects can all sort of tie together eventually as they're all implemented. If they are implemented as proposed, it would sort of build these connections for the town of Lee to connect all these amenities, either they're recreational, educational, or retail and food access. So yeah, that's kind of the guiding star, in my opinion, is kind of the big picture here.
So speaking of stars, for everybody who's watching, who may watch this, what are the stars, and then what about the blue line? So you can explain the colors for anybody who might be, and sitting here at the table, I don't know exactly what those are either. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I should.
Heads up.
Yeah, I can update the legend there as well. The stars are just the actual point locations of the projects I showed, like a crosswalk location. So if you can match the number that's nearest to the star with the key over here. So like star number 14 is the Franklin Street, Graylock Street crosswalk. But I can make that a little more clear in the future legend for our final report as well. So I appreciate that. The blue line is basically just the existing sidewalks and streets in the town that kind of link these three regions together that I saw as the sort of the spine that links these three together.
And those seem to be okay. I mean, from your reports, those are,
Yeah, those sidewalks seem to be in good condition based on the inventory. We didn't see a pressing need to have any sort of reconstruction or projects along that spine, so that can be basically leveraged as an existing asset that would link all these different parts together.
thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, for sure, though, when we do our final report, this map will be updated a bit with more information and more, a more detailed legend, of course. And that's basically what we had for the listing of projects that we have right now. Happy to solicit any input, comments from the board. I don't know if there's like open mic as well, if anybody else would like to speak.
I would let anybody who wants to say, comment. Do you guys want to start? Do you have anything you'd like to?
I can wait for a minute while I'm thinking.
I guess what comes to mind, it just occurred to me, I looked over this before the meeting, but we have a project that will be coming up with the building of the new fire EMS police facility on Railroad Street. We're going to be looking at, we have a reuse committee that's looking at the existing firehouse as well as the existing EMS facility that's going to be mostly torn down. But there's a discussion / debate going on about the sidewalk, what the front of that is going to look like once we decide to use it. I don't know if that would fall into this conversation, but the traffic patterns will change, pedestrian patterns will change once it's been decided where we want to go with that. I don't know if that could be included in this as well, just as a consideration.
Certainly, it could be a future project to consider
Yeah.
in coordination with the public safety complex. So you're thinking of either a sidewalk or something on that side of the road?
Well, we're looking to create, we're not quite sure yet, maybe a patio area, but we'll increase the greenery in the front as well as pedestrian access off the main street, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And while there's not been a final concept, we haven't come up with that yet, but this could, if this might impact that conversation, let's put it that way.
Yeah, pedestrian amenities, as they call them,
Yeah.
are certainly qualified expenses like benches, lighting, plazas,
Okay, well,
things
that's
like
good
that.
to know.
We've worked with towns that would say they have a public park and they want to have some benches and lighting installed. They've been funded through Complete Streets projects as well,
Yeah.
so we could put that as a potential project.
That'd be
We can
great.
certainly have more than 15 in the list.
Okay.
And yeah,
Great.
thank you for that
Thank
suggestion.
you.
We can make sure to add that down. Perfect.
So I'm interested in a little bit more in like the mechanics of how this works. So we identify a project we want to fund, we apply. How long does it take to potentially get the funds? How many projects could we try to fund? How was it $1 million a year in grant funding available potentially, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you could just like kind of give us a little bit more depth into like how that all works.
Sure. And the caveat being that the way they've just restructured the program, and I have much past experience, the way they're doing it right now with the
Right.
new $1 million system. I don't think they haven't done a grant round yet with this new system. Speaking from past experience though, there were 2 funding rounds per year, like one in the spring, one in the winter. And that was when towns had their basically $500,000 like budget that they could use over the course of 4 fiscal years. And so you would apply for the funding with tier 3 and hear back before that next round of funding starts. So it'd be like, I think at most a 6-month turnaround. You would basically apply through tier 3, which is where you'd actually request the funding through the, Geodot or the Map It basically portal for each town. So you'd apply for it basically like Chapter 90. You'd work through that same sort of grant portal. And they would review your request and make sure it was a qualified expense and give you feedback on that. I've seen a few towns that had to go through, they basically had to do it again. So if you're not selected the first time, you can reapply the second time, which is just a longer wait period. But with the new $1 million allotment, it's basically a competitive grant as far as I understand across the entire state. So it's hard for me to say how competitive it will be or what the time frame for getting the funds for this new version is. I would hope the turnaround is reasonable.
Yeah.
But since it's just, I believe it's just a yearly grant opening for a certain amount of time, like, you know, like a NOFO basically is, Notice of Funding Opportunity. I can try and find more information about what they put out so far about the new system though, and let you know.
Yeah.
I don't have too much background on the new
Yeah,
system.
I mean, it's just coming out, so
Yeah.
I'm not expecting you to.
But in the past, there were 2 rounds of basically 6-month turnaround between both rounds, and you would hear back whether or not you were funded. It was still competitive back then. It wasn't a guarantee that you applied for your 500,000 allotment and got that. But you'd hear back in a fairly expeditious manner, in my experience. Yeah.
So if there's $1 million, is that per town, or is this $1 million that everybody has to cut up and share?
Oh no, it's $1 million, up to $1 million per town.
Okay, that's, okay,
Yeah.
great.
I'm not
And you
sure-
said it's 4 fiscal years that we have to be able to do the projects, get it out to bid and do all that?
The 4 fiscal years was for your $500,000 allotment in the previous tiered system.
Oh,
So
okay.
basically, if you
But that's going away.
That's going away, yeah.
Right.
So you don't, so basically, if you applied for a project, say in fiscal year 2021, and it was $250,000. So you got that amount deducted from your budget, and then you had 3 more years to spend out the rest of the $500,000 budget, and then it would refill in fiscal year 2025. But now I think it's just an annual, you can apply annually, but you probably, my guess is that if you were awarded last year, you probably wouldn't be as highly rated, like, to get another $1 million award a year.
Your spot
I
in the
get
queue
that.
might go down, right?
Yeah.
That's my
That
guess.
makes sense.
Yeah, no, they only have so much money, they can't give $1 million to every town.
Plus, if you
There's
hadn't
a complete
finished your
streets.
first one, they
Right.
probably wouldn't want to give you another one.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I feel like if you've participated in complete streets in the past, I feel like that's a good thing. But also, yeah, it means you've already kind of gotten something from the program, so they might not turn around right again and give you more money from the program. But it's new territory a little bit. But from my past experience dealing with state grants, you'd get an award and then you might have to kind of cool down for a little bit before you get your your next award. So.
Do you know how many towns and cities in Mass have signed up for this program?
It's a good amount. It's a good amount, and that's part of their reasoning why they phased out the tier system, because so many towns have basically gone through this process now that everyone's pretty well versed on the program, so you don't have to kind of guide them through the tiers anymore.
Okay.
They gave a statistic. I think it's probably like 70% of the towns and cities have gotten some part of the process, either tier 1 or tier 2. There is a map for participation on the Mass DOT webpage. It shows you all the towns in the state that have gotten through parts of the program. But it's a lot. Yeah, it's a very popular program.
I have one last question. You might have mentioned some of the things, or maybe all, but is this only limited to like transportation, like different ways of transportation, or are like, utilities and other infrastructure pieces that exist within the road? Is there other things that we could potentially, identify to apply for fundings? Or is it it's a lot of I'm just seeing a lot of sidewalks and crosswalks, and, it's very, very necessary stuff, but, is there any other like infrastructure things that we might be able to consider as part of streets? Just trying to think outside the box a little bit.
For sure, and I don't know.
Sometimes to do it, if you have the proper context, like if you wanted to do a sidewalk expansion, and part of that is undergrounding all the power wires, that might be a qualified expense, but typically it is just for transportation projects.
Yeah, I know towns will sometimes leverage, say if they need to do a sewer replacement, they'll wait until they have to do the sewer line replacement and then rebuild the road with, say, complete streets bolstering it to add, say, a new sidewalk or bike lanes when they have to reconstruct the street anyway, that kind of thing.
But it probably wouldn't pay for the sewer. I mean, what I'm saying,
That's
they're looking at
kind of what I'm getting at. A lot of
surface
things
issues.
under the road.
Surface issues.
Yeah, no, it's only a horizontal surface construction, unfortunately, yeah. You could do, say, things like pedestrian scale lighting, like street lighting, that kind of stuff. If you,
Yeah.
and say if you want to like convert to LED or something, that could be maybe something that could be tied into that.
It's not for design either, right? It's only construction.
That's also part of the new system. Towns can apply for up to $150,000 for design funding.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, which is a new thing because that was a big hurdle for a lot of towns to do, is it's retain someone to actually do the engineering design, because that wasn't a qualified expense, it was only hard construction. But now towns can also participate in the program to, to bring in a MassDOT pre-qualified design firm that they get procured through the state.
Yeah, we might want to look at that for some design help on a couple projects.
Yeah, we're happy to, I can reference those resources in our report as well for Complete Streets. There's a link in Grant Central, I believe now, to look into that program as well. And that can be for any of the, it doesn't have to be for Complete Streets, it could be for like the Municipal Small Bridge Program or like the Shared Streets and Spaces Program. It can be for any of those municipal grant programs, basically.
Okay.
So just for you, I assume you're involved in this. Are you our rep or anything on this? or
I'm
you
not.
just-
I was actually kind of wondering that myself.
Yeah, I was wondering
Who's on
repping
our
this?
steering committee for this? Lenny?
Yeah, I
I'm
wanted
guessing?
to.
Yeah, Lenny, Craig,
Yeah.
myself, Brooke, Catherine, and John Toole.
Right,
Okay.
like that.
Yeah.
Because I wanted the names out there, so if somebody has an idea at home, that know who to call. And I assume
They're-
the meetings are they posted somewhere? Like how it's, if somebody wanted to come and give input or talk to you,
Yeah.
now they know your name, so they can call.
Easiest would be to contact myself.
Through you.
Or us at BRPC,
Yeah, yeah.
we're happy to
Okay.
field questions from
Okay, great.
from the public, yeah.
All right, well, somebody may sit through this and watch it, you never know. And anyway,
Appreciate
or
the
they
passion,
they may have a question for us and then we know where to steer it. You know,
Yeah.
because I wouldn't have an answer, so. All right, well,
And that
thank you.
also leads me into, I don't have it with me today, it's kind of in beta, but we are going to have an interactive project map that anyone from the public can
Nice.
go and look at these projects in the whole town, where they're located, kind of like that, kind of like this,
Yeah.
but more interactive. You can look at the descriptions of the projects and give a thumbs up or thumbs down if you want to vote for a project and say which ones you prefer. And you can leave a comment about each project, so I encourage anyone from the public. Once we have, it's kind of in beta right now, we
Yeah.
hope to get it finished by next week. And once that's released, I'll share it with all of you to, if you have a way to broadcast it to your constituents and to your circles.
Absolutely.
We'd love to invite
Sounds
feedback
good.
from,
great.
for the next few weeks. We'll have it open and finish the report by the end of the year, so.
Great.
No,
Yeah.
that'd be very helpful to get.
Yeah,
the
I'm
feedback.
sorry I can't show you much right now. It's,
That's all right.
yeah, I was hoping to get it today, but it's, should be by next week.
You have anything you want to ask?
No, right.
Cool.
No, the chief's
all set.
here, Brooks
So
here.
the only other thought I have is we also have the Eagle Mill project on both
Yeah.
sides of the street, and that this could benefit that greatly, I think. If,
Yeah.
again, we don't know exactly how that's going to be turning out. but-
I think that, there's definitely going to be a need for just further develop pedestrian traffic around that area,
That was
I
a
think.
discussion too,
Yeah.
particularly, I think we talked about the parking spots that used to be along Center Street.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's kind of questionable, I guess it's West Center Street.
Right.
Whether those it would be useful to make as a bike lane, or whether it should go back to parking spots. Nobody's using them now because of construction,
Yeah.
but, so, that was a discussion where we didn't have a final
Maybe we clean-
opinion on that yet.
Claim those
especially with across
spots
the
for the
street, yeah.
street or the parking or add,
Or add a planting, like a planting strip
Right, 'cause
in between to have some more
that would.
buffer zone.
Right, that would help with the location, the proposed location of the new housing on West Center, because that's it was only like 20 feet from the
Right.
curb, I think, so
Yeah.
that might help. It's just something to think about, that area of town.
If you go back to when there were houses there that are all torn down now, there used to be parking
Yes,
spots.
right.
Yeah.
Like where Berkshire Appliance, there was a spot in front of there. and-
Yeah, and I know during our discussions, like, perhaps there'd be a future phase that would have like a retail building out there potentially, and maybe they would want some on-street parking spots, or we figured we'd be strategic about it and see kind of what's developing with those parcels.
Yeah.
But that's also, that is that's not a state highway as far as I know until you hit the bridge there, so that would still be a
exactly.
qualified stretch of road.
There's a lot of flux there.
Yeah, phase 3 includes storefronts underneath
Yes.
parking spots would,
Yeah.
we don't want to lock anything in yet, so.
Yeah. So you can kind of keep it in mind for sure, but wasn't sure if you'd want to commit that in the plan or not, or we can decide on that.
So well, I guess before we let you go, is there anybody here who'd like to add anything or have any questions? We have a couple people
Yeah, from here.
on Zoom. Now would be the time.
Kathy's hands, is that a hand for?
No, I think that's just the.
Oh,
That's his hand.
Yeah, folks
Turn those
wanna
off.
raise their hands on Zoom or raise their hands in the room.
That's it.
Yeah, happy to continue.
I don't see any hands and nobody's coming forward, so thanks is there anything else you want to close with or finish up you got for us or?
Yeah, I think that's anything you write. I think we got it covered. Yeah.
Great.
I'll say thank you so much again for your time and letting us come in early and talk to you before the rest of the select board meeting. So appreciate your attention and your interest, and please let us know if anything comes up afterwards too. Feel free to email me or Ryan or Chris, I'm sure, and then we can keep it going. We'll look forward to getting you the final product before the end of the year here.
All right.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks for the
Appreciate it.
presentation, very informational. All right.
Appreciate it. Should I put up our?
There you go. No, we're not in recess yet. But I think that's where we're headed.
Yeah, I know what
We
time
have
we're at.
about almost 20 minutes before 7, so I'd entertain a motion to enter into recess until 7 o'clock.
So moved.
And I will second that.
If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye. Great.
So we will reconvene and continue our meeting. Our first order of business here, our regular open session minutes from November 4th, which I would entertain a motion for approval.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes from Tuesday, November 4th.
Mr. Chairman, I need to abstain since I wasn't here.
Sure thing, and I will second those, and if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Two approved, one abstention. Next order of business, we have public comment, so if there's anyone on Zoom or in person who would like to come forward and speak, now is the time.
You have a hand.
Yeah. You want to?
I think she's good.
Go ahead, Kathy, let everyone know who you are and what you got going on.
Well, Kathy Hall, just private citizen here in Massachusetts. Last meeting, I did ask about the cable and why we could get channel 1301 and 1303, but not 1302. So Chris told me that he was going to bring that to the attention of the Cable Advisory Committee. So whether they did something or Spectrum did something, we do have channel 1302 now. So thank you very much, Chris, and thank you to the Cable Advisory Committee for checking that out for me. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, we will move on into general business. Our first order of general business is a common vitulers license application from Keep It Crispy LLC. They're doing business as Juju's, and this is at 54 Main Street. My understanding is this is where Appetito was, right? Oh, okay. Do we have the applicant here? Because I don't, that's why I was going to ask, because I don't have
there's no
a
name.
contact. But if you want to, if there's somebody, you want to come up, introduce yourself, tell us what you got going on.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I don't know if I'm
You're
being
good.
live broadcasted, and if you want to
Oh,
get my
you
good
are.
side, I'm Josh Irwin. I live in Stockbridge. I grew up in the Berkshires and have lived in New Marlborough and Great Barrington for the last 12 years. I have a couple of businesses in Great Barrington, restaurants and retail. I'm super excited about being a part of this Lee community and converting over the former Appetito Pizza and Gelato shop to being a Juju's, which is a popcorn chicken and soft serve ice cream fast casual concept where we'll be open for lunch and dinner. Closed on Mondays and Tuesdays right now, but I don't think that's in the application. And we also will be serving pizza to offer a quick and affordable and tasty, delicious meal, whether for lunch or for dinner with the family or after a sporting event or game or any of those fun things. We use High Lawn Farm milk. I've been making soft serve ice cream for about 12 years now with High Lawn Farm milk, and so it's super cool to be able to pick up a gallon directly from the farm when I forget to do an order, which happens more frequently than you would think. If you guys have any questions, or if anybody does, I'm all ears. We will be opening in the next couple of weeks, and please stop in, say hey, and introduce yourself. Love to chat.
Thank you. Gordon, Bob, do you have anything you'd like to ask?
I'm looking forward to the opening.
Just a question, there's no, are you keeping seating basically the same way? Your occupancy is going to be the same? You changing the inside around at all as far as floor plan goes?
Nothing too big as far as redesign.
Okay.
We're not. You're using the bar as a ordering counter, so there will be no bar seats. There are 4 seats. I found some old retro diner stools in the basement that I think were from what I've been told, an ice cream shop like a long time ago that was there. So I did install those at the corner of the bar as a quick little spot, but there will not be a bar service. It'll just be a counter service.
Okay.
We've removed a couple of tables just to thin it out, but we did add a window counter, which is just a short little counter in the window so that you can sit and enjoy a little bit of food or an ice cream and enjoy the beautiful view, and people can see, and the windows are awesome there.
Okay.
But yeah, nothing too major. Lots of color changes. You won't recognize the space, but nothing too major as far as physical layout.
So will you be back for beer and wine license, full alcohol license
We will be back
at some point?
Yeah, we will be back we're preparing our full alcohol license request.
Okay.
We won't be serving full alcohol, but I always find it's easier to ask for more and offer less. But the plan is to offer a white wine, a red wine, and some beer, but hopefully people will take our food. It's great to go and support Josh over at Moe's or take it home or anything else.
Sure.
And the full alcohol is just there in case we do a private event, or the town hall wants to host their annual party and somebody only likes Jameson and Coca-Cola, we can figure that out for you.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Great.
This time. Anybody else?
Yeah, if anybody else wants to comment at this point, feel free.
Got to get rid of that hand and make
Yeah,
it
I took
pointing
care
to
of that,
something.
yeah.
Thank you.
Well, seeing no further comment, at this point, I'd entertain a motion for approval of the common victualer's license for Juju's.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, I'd make the motion to approve the common victualer's license as stated in the application.
I will second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you
You're in
guys.
business.
Pleasure to meet you.
All right.
Come and see us. Keep it crispy, y'all.
Okay, see you later.
All right, our next order of business, we have an energy siting discussion from our town planner.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for letting me come speak with you tonight. I wanted to chat about, I don't know how familiar, so I'm going to go into a little bit of background about it, but the state DOER, which is Department of Energy, has released new clean energy siting and permitting regulations. It was released about a month ago after final comments, so actually a month and a day, October 17th when they published their regulations. So it's essentially a consolidated permitting process, common app, designed to streamline local review of solar, battery storage, and other clean energy projects. And I think this is really a hot topic right now. So you probably heard about it in other towns or just other processes kind of coming down the pipeline. It basically places greater responsibilities on municipalities to establish a clear internal process and procedure of how to take a common application. So the applicant applies to the state, and the state hands us a very large permit, and it has to go through every department and every commission, every board in town within 12 months. So The town needs to determine how we're going to take this permit, how, departmental coordination, timelines on their decision-making, how they'll be managed. And this is required that municipalities will have a process by December of 2026. So we have about a year to figure this out. This may and will require bylaw adoption, so we kind of do need to get a start on this sooner rather than later. So I'm here to hopefully work with, or start the process of chatting with the select board to develop a transparent, efficient process that supports compliance, while also ensuring a thorough local oversight, because it is a bit complex and it's a bit daunting when you're looking at the statute, in my opinion, because of how it has to go through every board, every department, every commission within 12 months. So basically, in a nutshell, you can't unjustly regulate any clean energy systems coming in, including solar and battery energy storage systems, which are the two, again, hot topics, I think, for the state, especially in Western Mass recently. There's some exemptions. There's a lot of definitions in the section that's very specific about solar, including like nameplate capacity, things that we don't talk about yet in our bylaws, that we don't address. They do address it. There's scoring and self-scoring where applicants will come and they'll fill, again, this consolidated permit. It'll go potentially even to a state board if we don't make our decisions fast enough, or if we fail to have all departments come with a decision within that 12 months, it will go to the state for basically a common yes or no decision that won't be overturned. And no individual process can be appealed in this decision, only the final decision can be appealed. So again, it adds a lot of nuances of how we don't typically handle large projects coming in. Even right now, if a large energy system project was to come in, it would still go through all of our local boards and departments the way we handle everything else. It wouldn't be this consolidated 12-month process. I like to think that typically it doesn't take us 12 months to give a permit to a large project, and our process is pretty on time and fairly in that department, but it does bring me some worry for some boards that only meet as needed to find quorums and things like that. So I do believe a deeper process has to be thought of, especially in the order of how applicants would go through the departments. I do believe I sent over the consolidated guidelines, and I'd like to draw your attention to page 16, if you have that easily accessible, which is their model clean energy infrastructure permitting bylaw, which is very bare bones and kind of fill in the blank. And this is something that I would love help and the select board's input, especially for identifying which local government representative will be responsible, for overseeing the pre-filing requirements, for, issuing the final decision, for who's responsible for enforcing permit conditions. These are a lot of questions that most of our boards take, this board takes it, but they're kind of looking for one representative to be the point person. And it's a big question. These are large projects that impact multiple boards and multiple commissions. So I want to get the ball and the conversation started tonight. I'm not looking for you all to have, to come up with many answers. But I do believe that this needs to be talked about before we know it. It'll be December 2026. And if we don't have what we want to do, the state will definitely tell us exactly how we need to handle it. And that's the last thing I want, because I don't believe that every town works the same. I want to make sure that our process works for us.
Thank you. So if we need a bylaw in place by December, do we need to have something on the town meeting warrant?
I think
for May?
that'd be the best decision
For May.
for May.
Yeah, as otherwise we'll be calling
Yeah.
a special town meeting for this.
And I think it will take a decent amount of work, because again, this, what they recommended for their draft bylaw is not really, I don't think, a bylaw personally. It has the pieces that we need to identify in the bylaw.
I see a lot of red on Gordon's.
But it's very.
Yeah, you do. I have 17 pages here and I got a lot of red lines. All right, and I was gonna try and hook up with you today to talk about some of it, but, well, I'll do it later.
Yeah.
One of the most concerning ones, just to mention, is their definition of the local, where's our, they have our town clerk as being the municipal officer for the purpose of these regulations. They shall serve as a default local government representative. Like, no, that's definitely not appropriate. She's got enough on her plate as it is. Any town clerk does. And not only that, before a
make another comment. Is this for a zoning protected bylaw, or is this for our corporate bylaw for the town? Which bylaws, because it doesn't really say.
It doesn't say.
It just says bylaw, and we have two sets.
I did have a meeting with Allison Gage, who was the Western Department, a few months ago. I've emailed and asked to have another, because I think that there are questions, again, that this leaves very unanswered about how especially small municipalities like us out here in the western area of the state, where we're probably more apt to see more of these projects pop up, how we should actually handle things like this. I haven't heard back yet, and I hope, to definitely ask that. Do we need two separate bylaws? Do we need a general and a zoning bylaw? Our zoning bylaw right now identifies a lot of the solar requirements as
Yes.
acreage, but all of how they're identifying it in this is by megawatt hours or kilowatt hours. So I think we're gonna have to adapt a decent amount of our bylaw to fit that. Also, most of our large arrays, which are more than an acre, require a special permit, but now if it's under 250 megawatt or kilowatt hours, it depends on the type, they're saying it should be by right or with this consolidated permit. So it's tricky and it's nuanced, and all of this is new, and that kind of dropped the ball on us. So I think we're gonna need to definitely put some work into our existing zoning bylaw for solar, add some for battery energy. We don't have anything right now in our bylaw with that. And then also take a look at any other clean energy, because this highlights and mentions solar and battery energy, but it could down the pipe be wind turbines or other types that come up as needed. So also making sure that we're specific, but also more general. That way, hopefully, if more types come up, that we can kind of capitalize on that as well.
So again, I think we need to, as a community, start talking about this as which way we want to do it. If it's in the zoning bylaw, basically you have the zoning enforcement officer who will be the enforcing. If it's in our regular bylaw, we're going to have to be very specific, because a lot of things there go to the police, some go to Board of Health, some go to, so we're going to have to think this through in the long term as to how these things are going to be
Absolutely.
reviewed and then enforced. So as I looked at this, I assume this is 225 CMR 29.
Correct.
Is the main thing. And that was what was concerning about the definition and putting town clerk in as, so does that mean we can adjust this based on our bylaw that we adopt, or are we stuck with that? If you could find that out and get back to us, that'd be helpful.
As soon as I get a meeting,
Yeah.
I can update the board after I had that discussion with Alice and Gage. I'm sure that also they're very slammed right now, because every community in the West is kind of the ones dealing with it, but
Well,
definitely some of my
the only good
questions.
thing was that under the definition of town clerk, it mentions that a town clerk shall serve as the default local government representative unless specified otherwise in a bylaw or ordinance. So it looks like we have the option, even though it's stuck this way in 225 or 229 CMR.
229, yeah.
Then our zoning or corporate bylaw can specifically, but we have to remember to earmark that, specifically state that someone else is our enforcement and our coordinator.
Yeah.
Because everything is going to go through one person,
Absolutely.
and they do have joint meetings suggested. Again, I'll give you all this red line later.
Sounds good.
So it's where we have to go.
Yeah.
It may not be where we want to go,
Correct.
but we're stuck, because
Yeah.
this is one more legislative imposition on small town
Yeah,
that's going to be tough for us to deal with, but we'll do it.
exactly.
I think that's all I should say about it.
It didn't look like we had any flexibility in the posting requirements, right? If they've changed in this.
Yes.
Right now, any other permit, you have to put in a newspaper,
Right.
there's 300 foot of butters. I believe this changes to
So-
not require a newspaper, not require
Well,
300 foot of butters.
No,
It's
we have to
tricky.
mail. We do have to mail out with an assessor's list.
but
We
not- yeah.
we don't
Well,
handle any of
somebody
it.
does.
The applicant, and
Yes.
what they recommend is the applicant gets the assessor's list. It doesn't even say, excuse me, the abutters list from the assessor. It doesn't
Right.
even say really how far so like for planning board or ZBA, it's 300 foot abutters. For
Right.
conservation, it's 100 foot abutters. They don't define, they say a common land use border, I believe, but not including roads, so I believe across the street as well.
Right.
But they don't define like X amount of feet. Which is how we do it for everything else. They say that it must be published in at least 2 multimedia sources, which could include, and they say radio, newspaper, or social media. I have no idea what that would entail. What if a private account was posting about it? Would
Right.
that still count when no one can see it? What is social media? You know,
Or our
we-
website.
or, you know, our website, they have to have the meetings available to key stakeholders, which they do have a definition in the
Right.
section of key stakeholders. It has to be a publicly available space. Well,
Yep.
what does that define? Is it a town space? Because, I mean, how we would handle this if anybody else would be that we kind of take the role of organizing everything, just like any other special permit, where we are the ones that send out the abutters, you know, notices after getting the abutters list, and we're the ones that make the postings and post, and then set up, you know, a time in the meeting room. But leaving this in the applicant's hands could get very tricky, because it's tough to manage with everything else going on for a municipality. And these applicants are more than likely going to be corporations, because most of the time, this is going to be not just your average homeowner, unless they're producing a lot of energy on their property. But still, it's tricky, you know, having somebody come in and expected to know how to do all these things without really the direction of the municipality. It seems a little wacky to me. So I've definitely noted this down for to discuss with Allison Gage, because I don't really know what the steps would be. And again, we've never had to do multimedia posting. It's always been newspaper. So why are they kind of switching up with multimedia with this new
Because nobody's
consolidated
reading
permit?
newspapers anymore.
Well, fair.
Nobody knows
but-
how to.
It's interesting that like, it's different than any other process that we have to do as a municipality for other normal
Right.
special permits. And the posting requirements and the abutters requirements, and it seems just not as well fleshed out as it should.
Is anyone suggesting a temporary, like, moratorium between when we change these bylaws, or?
No one has asked for it yet. So there's 3 towns that I know about either currently seeking or going to seek, and that is Plainfield, Blandford, and Worthington for solar projects, but they also have solar projects on the table for their current, it seems like there's kind of a push right now to get stuff done before this consolidated permit comes out, in my opinion, from different companies. So I believe Plainfield was determined that they couldn't do moratorium. Blandford, I don't know the vote for that, and Worthington may be looking at doing that. And typically, it's a 12 to 18-month moratorium on any additional solar projects, for this example, or energy projects, until bylaws are done and you know, figured out, fleshed out, and, you know, drafted for sure. So it could be something that we would look into. We don't have any projects, knock on wood, on the table right now. So a moratorium, I believe, is more favorable and more possible. It doesn't look like we're trying to stall a current project. But no one has asked for that, recommended that, discussed that yet. That is something that we have not talked about as a town.
Is this part of, like, Maura Healy's push to have massive solar projects over here in the west
I
end?
believe that it's part of the 2030 clean energy
Yeah.
Yeah.
requirements.
Yeah.
I don't believe enough has been done to meet the requirements of 2030, so there's a big
Yeah.
push now. I do believe that there has been oversight, miscommunication between how it will impact people, you know, east of Worcester and how it will impact us out here in the hill towns. I believe that it will be very different in how we have to handle things like this, and more, you know, consolidated, more populated areas will handle things like this. I could see this working in an area where it's more city, or projects are going in brownfields or areas that are, you know, semi-permeable or non-permeable, and parking lots and abandoned. That all makes more sense to me. If you ask for my opinion, I am always hesitant to have solar and large energy come into open space where people can recreate, and we can't really get that habitat, those ecosystems, and that space back. I do believe that is a driving factor, is the 2030 goals.
It's a double-edged sword, though,
Absolutely.
because people are rallying for preservation of open space. And then you
Yeah.
have the danger of massive solar fields and.
And I'm all a fan of clean energy, it's just
Yeah.
doing it the right way.
Yeah,
So I want to make sure that we protect ourselves
Yeah.
against
There's
things like
some
that.
ugly
much as we can.
constructive approval language too. If the
Yes.
town doesn't do things in certain timeframes, it's automatically approved by the state, and you really have no right of appeal. So
No.
it's like, this is something we'll
Real,
have a
yeah.
lot of good discussions, and we need to hop on it right away.
Yeah, so.
thank you.
Definitely, I would
That's all I'll
love, you know,
say.
furthering this conversation. I don't know what the board thinks the next best step would be. I've briefly
Well-
discussed it with the planning board, but this is a large task.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure really what the right angle to go about it first is. So.
Yeah, I think we need to start with just a little bit more information about like what is actually, how we can adjust our bylaws to fit this or this to fit our bylaws, or, which is the best approach, and then kind of go from there on figuring out what we have control of, what we can potentially
Nothing.
change. Not anymore, no control.
I have control.
Concerning.
Is the
So-
board, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just saying, Berkshire Regional Planning, how are they fitting into all this? They already have requests for everybody to come work with them? How's that coming?
I have a meeting with Laura Brent next week. I have to talk to
Okay.
her more about this. I think a lot of, I think the hill towns are feeling it more
Yeah.
than Berkshire County yet, but I think it's just a matter of time. I don't necessarily, I haven't, besides Beckett, really heard of any large energy coming in yet. I think there's 3 proposed in Beckett or something along the line, so it's definitely starting to creep its way into Berkshire County. And hopefully after I talk to Laura, I can have a better understanding of what BRPC is doing, or what they can do, or what they could provide us with assistance, but I don't think they've started really any of that yet. It's all kind of new and out of the blue.
I know, I've already gotten a letter from a solar company saying how the property looks so good to be used for this and that, why don't you get hold of us? And I'm sure it's all because of this change in the way the state's acting.
I think it is.
Yeah,
I think
okay,
it is.
thank you.
Anything else?
No,
Thank you, Brooke.
enough.
And
Thank
we will continue this at another time.
Thanks.
All right. Next on our agenda, we have green theory cultivation odor mitigation discussion. I think is Harsh here with us on Zoom. Yep, I can see him.
James as well.
And James. So they're both. You're both with James is with Aruna as well. Yeah, I recognize him. So really, I'd like to thank you both for joining us, and I'd really like to just start by kind of outlining sort of where we stand. And really, I think it's not a secret that there's been some odor issues. We brought you in, Harsh, in the past to discuss this. And so that's one piece of what's going on there. But we also have some outstanding tax bills and water fees, of which amount to, the property tax owed is $176,000, and the water fees due are $136,000. So we have a considerable late dues in water and property tax as accompanying this odor issue. So that's kind of like what the issues are. And if I could go a little bit further and just discuss or just outline the potential issue or actions that this board and the town might take, one of which, because of the outstanding water bills, we could seek to shut off the water because of that late fee. The zoning violations, because of the odor issues, we do have zoning laws specifically outlining odor. So that's something we could potentially seek fines from zoning violations. And the last of which potential action is we could seek to terminate relations, and specifically when it comes to the host community agreement. So that's just sort of, I wanted to lay that out as sort of what we are looking at for everybody's information. And I also just want to say that from my perspective here in the town, we've really tried to, and I hope you'd agree with me, Harsh, we've really been working our best with you to figure out, try to, give back the host community agreement money to help you guys mitigate the odor issue. And we've tried to be a very fair partner on our end. And so I think just with that all said, at this point, I would let any of you chime in if I missed something, or if there's something else that that either of you want to add to that, sort of where we stand here. So that kind of makes.
Well, I think you covered most of the issues very well, and it's continued. There was hope at one time when we allowed you to use the host community agreement
basically $74,000, if I remember right, you were to utilize to, and you did, I believe, make changes to your HVAC system. And then it went pretty well, actually. The smell was reduced incredibly, and then all of a sudden it came back again, and we find out that you stopped using the product, and eventually you went to a different vendor, and I don't know if you just don't turn it on, because whatever this other vendor did, it doesn't alleviate any of the problems. It's still the neighborhood. We do have people here that may support or our issues, and they may support you instead. But I know that one person who couldn't be here tonight, who lives across the street, said that he actually in the summertime has had to go inside because the smell was so bad it made him sick to his stomach. He couldn't work in his yard. He's right across the street. We live fairly close, not right across the street, but I know that we close our windows up in the summertime. I'm really sorry that the original vendor, that you couldn't stick with that person. I know that you mentioned there were some mechanical issues with that. But somehow or another, in my mind, I'm the one who instigated having you in here, is like, where are we gonna go from here? I mean, it seems like in a way that we have tried to bend over with you and make sure that this would work for you. But my wife has called you many times, I've texted you many times. We stopped because it didn't make a damn bit of difference. All you'd say was, "So noted," or "I'll check the weather." I don't care about the weather. No smell. In fact, I was discussed when I was in Big Y one day doing my shopping. I ran into a select board member who was one of the original 3 signers to the community host agreement, and that select board member said they agree it stunk and that you had made the promise that there would be no smell, and that's why they signed off on this. No smell outside your building. Well, it sure as heck smells. And it is sickening when you're close to it. It's a super skunk smell. And I'll wait now to let others have a say, and I can come back later and have more discussion. But Bob, I don't know if you want to go or open it to Harsh or the people here.
No, I'll echo what Sean and Gordon have said, and just the property taxes and the water fees, they speak for themselves, but the odor issues, all permits that we issue are contractual agreements, and not with just the 3 of us sitting here, but they're contractual agreements with your neighbors, with the residents of the town of Lee, the residents of the town of Lee who make these bylaws, and we act as facilitators. But you're actually in violation of your agreement with the residents of the town of Lee, with not only the immediate neighbors, but everybody in town. So I just remind you of that, and I don't know what your response is going to be, and I'm sure we're going to have some more testimony here tonight from people who have the concern, but I'm just saying that because I think it just needs to be said.
So with that, Harsh and James, again, thanks for joining us. I think Gordon kind of, when he says like, where do we go from here? I think we've kind of laid out all that. That's kind of what we're hoping to hear from you, because I personally, I would like to continue to work and find some sort of compromise that we can both be, that you guys can still function, and hopefully we can address the odor and these other issues. So I'll just, we'll all stay pretty, I think there's some people here that want to comment as well, and we'll get to them in time, but I just want you guys to have a chance to fully, have a say in this before anybody else talks, so go ahead.
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having us, and I can say it's been a great pleasure doing business with the town of Lee. We employ a very small force, which is very fortunate and lucky to be working in Berkshire County, and I appreciate the opportunity. The town taxes in the water bill, I've spoken to the town clerk, and we are working on a payment plan, which she has already agreed, and so we are working on resolving that and getting that underway. And so I will let you know the progress on that. I'm sure you guys will be hearing about it. But we are aware of the taxes and the water bill and are working with the town collector in order to go ahead and formulate a payment plan in order to go ahead and start paying that down. And so on that note, I look forward to giving you guys the progress as soon as we have that in place. And again, I'm sure you guys will be hearing about it from the office. And as far as the odor mitigation and the smell, and again, James can speak a little bit more to just our inquiry on our side and our due diligence for going with, again, the proper reporting authorities on, whether there has been any filings in terms of like reports. But we have received, again, there's been no formal filings done with, I forgot the exact the authority again, James, so I have to chime in and help me out over here, but there's been no, and again, every single time Mr. Bigley has reached out, it hasn't been just arbitrary. I've been very accommodating. Whenever he messages, I have always responded and acknowledged that, hey, thank you so much for reporting. We are going to be logging this in, and it's never been brushed off. It has always been a very welcoming conversation. Not once have I, again, let her roll off my shoulder. I absolutely appreciate the opportunity to do business in this town, and every single complaint, which the only complaint that I have ever received has been from Mr. Bailey, and he has said there's other people that share his opinion, but I've only heard from him. And, every single time he has reached out, I have always been very kind and acknowledged and been open to a conversation. And so we've been logging all the events, but as far as the formal complaints, again, I forgot the actual authority that we checked in with, but there have been no formal complaints, through the proper channels. And
So, actually,
Chris, there's somebody in the waiting room. Sorry.
no, actually, I would say this, yes, you've been polite. I've been polite. The bottom line is, you say you're recording it, but nothing ever gets done. We see absolutely no change. And yes, we have never filed a complaint, and it would be with a zoning enforcement officer in town, because we're trying to keep this not going to that level, but it's gotten to that point where I'm afraid that's what's going to happen. And now we're going to be under some timeframes for pressuring you, where we thought just working with you, as far as my family and the neighbors I've talked to, have been trying to be giving you a chance to get this under control. But all I can say is it seems like you're not doing anything back. All you're doing is making a note somewhere, and what good does that do any resident? In fact, it's not even our residents. I have contact with people who say from Beckett and Otis and to Stockbridge, other towns, they say, man, when I go by there, I shut my air off, I don't let the outside air come in, and it still stinks. So it's not just your immediate across the street neighbors, you're affecting a larger community. And we're hoping not to have to start filing complaints and asking for zoning enforcement. But it seems maybe that's what you want for some reason, in which case we'll grant you that. We'll go ahead and file. But I'd rather have had you step up and actually do something other than a quick nod and, yeah, I'm going to record that, and nothing changed. So, anyway.
Yeah, I have
At the moment, I'll leave it at that.
I want to let you continue too, Harsh,
Yeah,
but I have
please.
to just second Gordon's, because I think, the last time we brought you in, it was,
Yes.
oh, we got to get the information and figure out exactly when and what's causing the smell and what activities you're doing, what procedures are really, and then we can dial it in and we can, figure this thing out. And that's why, we were hopeful that that would happen. And that's, I think, the frustration is that there really hasn't. And I know from my perspective, it's all anecdotal, but I drive that way to work and I drive by twice a day, and it's not every time that I smell cannabis, but it's often, it's not.
Sorry, I just want to mention something before you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, on the payment plans, the collector said there was a meeting set up, but you didn't show up, Harsh, for that meeting for the payment plan, so we're wondering if you're going to reschedule, because I just wanted to make sure we brought that up. This discussion was had, but there was supposed to be a meeting last Friday, I believe.
Yeah, there was.
You were a no-show for that.
No, I'm not sure there was supposed to be a formal meeting, Chris. I received the bills, and in terms of getting back to the collector, the conversation that we had with her was, we're going to be going ahead and putting down a first payment. And so the ball's in my court. I need to go ahead and put together the appropriate payment plan in order to go ahead and basically, give her our roadmap for exactly what it's going to be. But we are working on making sure that we have, whatever I'm committed to, at least on the payment side, we can't afford it. So, yeah, we are getting our ducks in order in order to go ahead and give you guys, the appropriate payment plan, and of course the first payment as well. So that was the conversation. But again, I can come by and swing by the town tomorrow to clear it up and just make sure that we are all aligned on that. Maybe also put together an email so that way it's appropriately tracked as well. But that was my understanding of the conversation.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage you to follow up, because when we followed up, the answer was that it was talked about, but the next step wasn't taken that was suggested by her. So there may be a miscommunication there, but it would be good to follow up.
Absolutely. I will come out of town tomorrow and make sure that we clear it up. And again, the next steps are clearly outlined.
Yeah, please, James.
Some of the issues that have been raised regarding, odor mitigation and odor control. Mr. Bailey is correct. We did have an initial system in place. It used a highly caustic chemical to treat the odor. That chemical was so caustic that it was quite literally dissolving the HVAC system itself. It was dissolving the seals, it was dissolving the gaskets, it was creating more issues than it solved, because if there are air leaks in the system, it's not able to treat it. So that was essentially a nuclear option. It was not long-term sustainable because of the caustic nature of those chemicals. So we switched to an ozone system, which is recognized industry-wide as an odor mitigation strategy. That ozone system is in place, but this is an agricultural process and an agricultural plant. There is no, magic variable where we can say, oh, we set it to run at X ppm and that will be good in perpetuity at different stages of the life cycle of the plants and at different stages of the harvest process. And even within the strains themselves, there are different odors. So it's something that is constantly being adjusted and constantly being tuned, but there is an ozone system in place to work on that. That is a system that is, sustainable in the long term with the HVAC system that's in place. Does not use corrosive and caustic chemicals to treat the odor, and is much more of a solution that we can have in place to treat these. I think the reason Harsh has brought up, now moving to reporting of the complaints and recording of the complaints, why he brings up the boards, because we, with all due respect to Mr. Bailey, I know he has mentioned that he speaks for neighbors and people have come to him to speak for it, but we have not received complaints to date from anyone else in the neighborhood aside from Mr. Bailey. And looking at the neighborhood, there are 20 closer residences at or within the same radius as Mr. Bailey, none of whom we've received a complaint from. When we asked zoning, they said they had no complaints logged against the property. We asked Tri-Town Health, they said they have no complaints logged against the property. And when we asked for the records related to when these complaints are significant portion of the time, wind is blowing away from the residences. So odor travels with the wind. If the wind is blowing away from the residences, there's not a way that odor can travel against the wind and upstream over to the residences. So that's where we're trying to gather those additional data points and saying, obviously, we understand Mr. Bailey is very attuned to this. We understand that Mr. Bailey, does receive complaints to himself, but we don't receive them from anybody else. We don't receive any
Okay,
data points.
James, I'll stop you right there because I think we have a room full of people here ready to complain. So, and I'm sorry to just cut you off, but I think it's with that being said, and because I get complaints, and in the past I have reached out, not to Harsh, but there was another, I think his name was Mark, who was working there in the past, and I've reached out to him to issue a complaint. So I'd like to, give the people here that came to say something the floor, to, let them give you their perspective of what their experience is there. So if there's, maybe we want to start with Ashley, because she's on Zoom here. If we can go to her first, because she's in that neighborhood, right? Ashley?
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself and just go ahead and let us know what's going on.
Yeah, my name's Ashley. I live off of Fairview Street, off of the 102 side. I'm sorry my camera's not working. I don't have a camera set up on this computer, but I did want to jump on. And the smell, I mean, it's obvious to neighbors, and people have complained. I even walk down the road and, on a warm day, a cold day, whatever the day might be, people are always complaining of the smell. I mean, it's obvious. If we need to go elsewhere to complain and we're not complaining to the correct people, then, I'll let people in the neighborhood know that we can take action and go that route. Not to mention, I have spoken with people that do work there, and I do know that these, this air qualifying machine has been shut off due to it's, expensive to run. What does that do to the employees that work there? Is it safe for these people to breathe these, this smell in and whatnot? I know there's a lot of people there that want to speak. I'm trying to make it quick. And then on another note, I am on the DPW board, and we just, had a meeting last week, Harsh, and I know that you keep saying that you're going to come in and set up a payment plan, and you haven't. You say you might come in this week. We have another meeting set up for Monday that we will all be meeting again. And if you could please take care of that by then, that would be great. If not, I don't know what the next course of action is going to be, but we have discussed looking at shutting off the water, as Gordon had mentioned earlier. So
thank you, Ashley.
That's it from...
Yeah, appreciate that. Is there anybody else on Zoom at this moment who'd like to just briefly make a comment? I don't see anybody. And we have a bunch of people in the room, so please take the microphone one at a time and just be as, I'd like everybody to just be as clear and concise. Yeah. I'd like you to be able to, everybody who wants to say something, just keep it respectful and, Yeah.
Promise to keep
Thank
respectful. Although I had a very
and remember to introduce yourself.
My name is Janet Warner. I live on Church Street in Plea. And I had some kind things to say, but after listening to this conversation, I'm going to go way off script. I'm going to remind this board that it was years ago that I remember Harsh coming in and saying, how do you know that the odor is coming from our place? It could be somebody growing in their basement. And at that point in time, I was wild. And he also said, people should call, this is the number to call, this is the number to call. And I came into this board and I said, I'm unwilling to make a phone call when I drive past Route 102 and it smells. The reason that you hear from Gordon more than anyone else is because he's a leader in our community and people talk to him, so he's kind of like our conduit. So I'm telling you now that it smells often, and for you to act shocked or surprised and say that the wind is blowing the other way is insulting to me. Because if you don't think it smells, then maybe you need to go to some kind of doctor to figure that out. I also have a statement from Wendy Hauk, who lives in South Lee. She can't make it tonight. She said, you can use my name and say I was going to be there, that I'm sick of the smell when I drive past, and that the building itself is ugly, and that there should be some curb appeal. which probably is beside the point, but it's all part of this. It's all part of this. I'm insulted that you're acting shocked and that you've only heard from Gordon, so you think that maybe there isn't a smell, because to me, that tells me, along with the fact that you said you came in and worked out a payment plan, and you said maybe smell was coming from somebody's basement, tells me that you've sold us a whole pile of goods that I'm having a hard time believing anything that you say. Thank you.
Is there anybody else here who'd like to comment?
Hello, my name's Ricky. I live directly across from you. I'm probably your closest neighbor. In the beginning, we were pretty indifferent. We don't care that you guys are across the street.
Right.
The smell started getting pretty bad. Still didn't complain because once again, it didn't really bother us. In the summer, we have to keep our windows closed. I have 2 small children, and the tipping point for us was our daycare provider for my 2-year-old commented that our child smelled like marijuana. So that was kind of, it's frustrating to say the least. So, when I hear you come back and say that, we need to file a formal complaint, I consider myself a pretty tolerant person. I don't like confrontation. I've spoken to Gordon's wife about it. If what I need to do to, instigate change is to file a formal complaint, I will go through the necessary channels. We're a community. I think in the long run, it is beneficial to have you guys as partners, but right now, as your closest neighbor, I think that this is, you're kind of passing the buck with the way that you were just talking. So I would like to know what's going to be done and, what timeline, because it's gotten out of hand.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else before we kind of get back to Harsh here? I don't see anybody jumping up. So, Harsh, if you have any replies you'd like to make, I'll give you the floor back. And I want to say again, from my perspective, and I think it's in everybody's, what they're saying too, is we're a very inclusive, open, community. We want to work together to find some sort of compromise. We just need you to kind of come to us now and help us, get help, we can help you get there by a payment plan. I'd like to see that, at some time soon, and then we'd like to see some action on the odor as well. So with that, you please you have the floor back.
Absolutely. And no, it's again, hearing from everybody, I want to do right by the town, and I want to do right by you guys. Again, you guys have given me a shot to live out my American dream of starting a business and, growing it and the way that, we have been. And so I really appreciate the opportunity. And if what we can go ahead and take a look at is increasing the, if the system, for example, when the old system that we had, which was again the nuclear option, if that seemed to have essentially a down on the smell, and if that was working, then we can absolutely go ahead and restart the conversation and make sure that we do some type of a hybrid system to kind of monitor and make sure that we are doing our best to mitigate the odor. But by, we've only, again, heard from Mr. Bailey, and so not to say, we want to go ahead and go through the proper, again, I had no idea that there were, so many other people that also had similar experiences. So I'm here to work with the town. I'm here to do right by you and the community. And so what I need to do internally is evaluate my options in terms of the old system, which again was a super corrosive system. It absolutely deteriorated the HVAC, and our preventative maintenance cost really went through the roof in terms of what it was doing with our coils and also our air handling units. Maybe we need to go ahead and look at repiping and seeing how we can go ahead and better adjust that system to kind of be away from our HVAC systems and see if that is perhaps an opportunity for us to go ahead and do. But it sounds like I have a lot of homework to do in terms of figuring out how to go ahead and restart that old solution, which was working, and figure it out. And so I would like the opportunity to go ahead and work on that and to, again, figure out how I can strike a balance with, making sure that we're not, we are mitigating the problem, along with not adding to our just operating costs and expenditures, because it truly was, there was just, it was a nuclear option. It really did, was corrosive to our HVAC systems. And so I need to strike a balance in making sure that, it's not adding more to the operational complexity. But it does sound like I have a lot more homework to do. And I would like the opportunity to go ahead and do that due diligence on my end and come to the board at the next meeting with a very concrete action plan and what the next steps are on my side.
That's sort of about what I was going to suggest next, but Gordon, did you want to?
Just one more comment. I know you talk about the wind direction, and again, we haven't brought this up before, but I know that Town Hall has gotten some complaints. I think maybe they called your office or somebody that they live on Meadow Street. So if the wind comes from the west, all this goes right down Meadow Street, which, it's not heavily populated, but it's populated. It's people who shouldn't have to, put up with closing their windows to not feel uncomfortable or to have a skunky smell in their house. Yeah, I would look forward to, if you said the next meeting, that's great. Come back at the next meeting and let's get something moving. Because I think we've been waiting patiently for multiple years of complaining. And we stopped complaining because nothing was happening. Why should I call you and just hear, yep, I'm going to note that down? It's like, it was very discouraging. My wife gave up. A lot of those text messages were from her, not me. And it's just, and yes, and unfortunately, I'm the conduit for some people who are a little more shy about stepping out in public, and I'm not as shy. I don't like doing this, but I felt that it was my job as a select board member that I had to continue to push this issue. And I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks with a concrete plan on how we're going to go forward so that we can mitigate this really and truly and finally.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Harsh, we meet on the 2nd, I believe, right? Yeah.
December 2nd.
December 2nd. And I think we need to see a payment plan and some action with our collector at that point. And I'd like to see any and all odor mitigation planning that you have done previously and can bring forward for us so that we can understand fully what you're up against there and how maybe we can be of assistance and continue to work with you on this. So that's what I would like to see. You guys, is that seen?
Yep.
Yeah, I just, if I may, Mr.
Absolutely.
Chair. In Massachusetts, the cannabis industry is an in-state industry, and there are grows all across Massachusetts. Right. And I read Boston papers, and I try to keep up on what's going on. I don't know that there's a problem across the state with cannabis grows and odor. And so I would suggest to you, if you're going to be coming in on December 2nd, maybe you should check with some of the other grows, because I've seen grows out in the eastern part of the state. They're in neighborhoods in highly populated areas, and I don't see where there's a problem. So the odor mitigation is actually your responsibility. And the idea, if you don't know that there's a problem, or because you haven't gotten formal complaints, you're one of the few people in the region that don't know that you have a problem. Because I will add, as a matter of record, I've had a number of people to me also note that driving down the road, just driving down Pleasant Street, that you can smell it, and I can say that I have smelled it myself. And this has nothing, I'm not opposed to cannabis, I'm not opposed to your business, I want you to succeed, but let's get real. This is a problem. You've been given ample opportunity to address it, and I think if you want a more formal pushback from the town, you will get it unless we can resolve it in the way that's been discussed here tonight. Thank you.
So Harsh, is this all kind of make sense and we have somewhat of an understanding on how we need to go forward here?
Absolutely, Sean. I
Yeah.
think December 2nd is a pretty solid date, and again, in terms of, yeah, that all sounds great.
All right.
Just one more thing. You did say, Harsh, that you were going to go in tomorrow to talk to the collectors. So that's November 19th. So I really hope that'll make it happen. Thank
We'll
you.
mention,
She might be out tomorrow.
she will not be in tomorrow, so don't go tomorrow.
Okay.
Sorry about that, but I happen to know she has the day off tomorrow, so.
Okay.
If tomorrow's, I can get by on Thursday. That's not a problem.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harsh, and thanks for coming again. And we,
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, guys.
yeah,
Thanks so much.
we will revisit this on the 2nd. Thank you. All right, moving on to our next order of general business, we have an updated employee handbook to consider. And is there, do we have a committee for?
Thank you.
Just a policy committee, or do we have a handbook committee?
No, so this was adopted back originally in
I'm way off. I'm way off the
2021
mark here.
by the board. This is just some amendments that were made
Gotcha.
to it. And we have a new payroll and benefits person since then who has, along with myself and the treasurer, worked to make some adjustments on this, update some laws that have changed, some other policies that have changed, like the paternity leave that we didn't have before.
Right.
There was a couple missing things in here that, like the dress code policy is new, that was absent from that before. Not our first one, just an update to it.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
there's some new social media and IT things that have come along since 2021, so.
AI.
AI.
We know how that works. Yeah. And, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I will say that this document's a little bit longer than the one I looked at that Brooke had given us, and I didn't redline anything. But for the citing. You know, I read all these documents, and I didn't put any red marks on yours. I'm just letting you know, I didn't do that.
Impressive.
Although I have some questions I'll talk to you about, but no
That
red
is rare,
lines,
actually.
no red lines.
So,
Thank you. So do we need to, what do we need to do?
We need to vote to approve this.
Correct, yeah.
And are we all signing this? Because I see there's a couple signature pages, but, or are none of us signing this? That's just employee stuff.
It's the
Never mind.
employees.
Yeah. So that's just the employee receipt. So
we
none
would
of us
just
are
put on
signing
it that it was adopted by the board on this date.
Yeah.
It's a
So I would-
record, yeah.
Yeah, so with that, I'd entertain a motion for approval of the updated employee handbook.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept, that we approve the updated employee handbook over October 22nd, 2025.
I'll second that motion.
Is there any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, next order of business, we have a purchase and sale to countersign. And this is a parcel off a Reservoir Road that is, adjacent to our water supply. And we had the opportunity to acquire it and protect our water down the future. So we are going to try to do that. And so if we were to sign this today, this would go on the warrant in May, right?
Yeah, just to clarify, so last warrant, it was either the last one or the one before, I can't remember, we purchased another parcel next to this on the southern, western portion of it. We own everything sort of north, is either us or the state, state of Massachusetts conservation or DCR land, I believe. Town land to the, I'm trying to do to the east, and
It's kind of the
south,
west,
to the
and south.
So this is kind of filling that. We were kind of like have a little gap to fill there. This is the final piece that will either between the town of Lee or the Commonwealth of Massachusetts will surround the entire reservoir. This parcel is also, I believe, where some of our infrastructure goes through, the main water line from the dam, and access to the dam goes through this parcel, which we have access to, but we don't own. And then it also is upstream of the other reservoir, so the main one being the Leahy Reservoir. I believe Schoolhouse is downhill from this property, so it does give us that extra protection. So.
It actually completes the chain, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it'll complete that full circle. It's the last portion that we don't have yet.
So I think if there's no further comment or discussion, I would entertain a motion to sign, I would think, right?
Yeah, I was just looking to see if anybody had their hand up, but nobody does.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would make the motion that we sign off on the purchase and sale agreement, obviously contingent on town meeting approval, and sign off.
Second that.
Any last minute comments?
It looks like Kyle has his hand up.
Nope, somebody does.
That's just the cursor. I got you.
I've asked them to change it to a pointer or something, but
I mean, it's a pointer
hand.
here until you get it over, so.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Leave it out on the end. No, thank you for being observant. Appreciate it.
All right. Hearing no comment, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we will sign that. All right. Next order of business, we have a number of Berkshire Gas permits to sign or to approve. A couple came in last minute here, so bear with me as we go through these. St. Mary's?
We have the sign.
Oh, I skipped over it.
That's all right.
I'm looking right at it too.
Yep.
Our next order of business is a temporary sign permit for St. Mary's Church, and I guess just to explain what this is about, they are looking to do one sign on a pole, and it's going to be 6 inches off the ground, 10 to 15 feet off the right-of-way, and almost 3 square feet. They haven't attached here, it's for their bingo, which is going to be 2 p.m. I don't have a date here.
It says this Saturday.
This Saturday.
They were good about that.
Right.
See, so they don't have to redo signs. So they put them out in the list of.
Gotcha, so it's, so they can, so, if there's no issue with this, I'd entertain a motion for approval, and they've requested the fee be waived.
Mr. Chair, I move that we grant the temporary sign permit to St. Mary's School and waive the fee.
I'll second that. And just noting out loud to other people, it's one of these signs that they're gonna put out and then take in, then put out, then take in, then put out and take in, and we just approved like 9 different dates. I was just looking at the bottom, trying to count them up. Yeah, I think we have 9 through June, it looks like. If I'm reading it correctly, I don't know. Into 2026.
Yeah, it's definitely into 2026.
So, I'm fine with that, I just wanted people to know that this is a multiple, single kind of piece.
Do I have a motion for approval of the temporary sign permit?
I've made that.
Yeah, and I seconded it,
Oh, okay.
and have the sign.
My fault, I didn't mark it here. If that's the case, then I will call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, now we'll do the gas permits. All right. A number of these, a couple of these came in last minute, so let's see. The first one I have in front of me is a partial service replacement at 385 Chapel Street. Working the left side front of property.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we approve this application at 385 Chapel Street, and since they don't have to dig in the road, looks like a pretty no-brainer, and move that the chair sign.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next one I have is partial service replacement work was completed during abandonment. This is for 770 Summer Street.
Yep.
there any issue, or do I have a motion for approval and allow the chair to sign?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the Berkshire Gas permit application for 770 Summer Street.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Second, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and then the third one, I believe there's a fourth, but the third one I have is for a gas service retirement at 28 Woodland Road, Lot 7, working in the street at the main. Well, this one, they will be in the street. The detail is required.
Yep. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, since it's signed off by the police and they'll have a detail there and the Board of Public Works, I'd make a motion that we approve as submitted the gas service retirement at 28 Woodland Road, Lot 7.
I'll second that.
If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then the last Berkshire gas permit I have is for a partial service replacement at 6 Union Street off the road near house front property. And again, all the sign-offs, no detail required. They're gonna bore.
Good.
Attempt to. Do I have a motion for approval?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the permit for Berkshire Gas Company at 6 Union Street.
I'll second that.
If there's nothing further, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Our next item of general business here are a couple appointments. So the first of which to consider, actually there's two per diem part-time firefighters to consider here. One, the first, Jessica Conkling and Jacob Soldato are the two per diem firefighters, and I have a letter here from the chief recommending both of them, it looks like. Yep. So I would entertain a motion to appoint those individuals.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we support Chief Brown's recommendation and allow the appointment of Jessica Conkling and Jacob Soldato to be appointed per that per diem employment.
I will second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next is a potential, well, we definitely need a select board member to serve on the 250th anniversary committee, so I guess we'll discuss that right now.
Go for it.
Chris, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to mention, we have started to get interest from, the last meeting, we put out notices to different organizations and groups in town. We've heard back from some of those, so board member would fill another one of those positions, and hopefully the plan will be, we'll have a full slate to bring back for a final appointment in the beginning of the new year. So
For just for everybody who's not aware of what we're talking about, last meeting we started discussions about a 250th anniversary committee to plan sort of like, you know, a slew of events for the calendar year of 2027. And so we're soliciting from different communities and community groups and boards and committees in town for members. And so this board also will have to submit a member, and that's what, I don't know, do either of you have a desire to serve on the committee?
Does the select board member chair this committee?
I mean,
not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
When you do the final appointments, you can determine that then if you'd like.
So that's the first fight.
Yeah.
Well,
or you could leave it up to the committee.
Or you can leave it up to the committee, right? Yeah. Well,
if you do neither, it's the first person you appoint by Robert's rules. So.
Okay. Well, I didn't grow up in Lee, but I was the president of the Historical Society in Great Barrington for many years, and this sounds like a fun project, so I'd be willing to do it unless one of you two natives.
I was actually,
I'm not a native.
Bob, I was actually gonna ask you if you were willing to, because I thought you'd be a good,
Yeah.
be a good representative from us for this committee, so.
Well, I'd be delighted. It's a big deal, so
Yeah.
it's going to be fun.
No, I would say, and I may end up being on, may end up through a different organization being put forward as a representative
Oh,
of
great.
your
Okay.
organization.
Great.
Or I may not, we don't know yet. So, I think it'd be great.
Keep your options open.
Yeah, I am trying to, yes, keep my options open, but yeah, I think Bob would make a great member to this group, so. I'm
Thank
all
you.
for it. So if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we select member Robert Jones, to be our representative from the board, at the Select Board on the 250th Anniversary Committee.
I'll happily second that motion.
Okay.
Bob, you
Okay.
accept?
I accept, thank you
Good
so much.
enough.
Any further discussion before we vote? All right, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right,
Thank you.
next order of business, we have sign a letter of recommendation for funding for a 2027 housing production plan. And this, hang on, skipped over it, here we go. Here. Okay. Do any of you have any comments or issues with this? Chris, is there anything you want to add?
Well,
to
just
this?
that,
And this is,
part of the application process for CPC is to have a letter of recommendation. In this case, we felt it was appropriate for the board's backing of this. The housing production plan is the first task of the newly appointed Affordable Housing Trust, and this will be a backbone kind of how they'll allocate funds and generate funds in the future. So it's an important document, and the trust, which you are on as well as I, would like the backing of the full board going into this. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's been very educational. We've had, 3 meetings now, Chris?
Yeah.
Learned a lot, and hopefully we can, do a lot of good for the town with but yeah, like Chris has said, the housing production plan gives us, and that's something we would work with BRPC to write and put into place, or I don't know that we would work necessarily with them, but.
yeah, they typically do those for towns in our area. There are some outside
There's some other
consultants, but
options.
it's
They're one of them.
not a lot of them that work in this area, so the majority of these BRPC has done for neighboring towns. So again, it's an important document so that when somebody does look for funds from Affordable Housing Trust, when we have funds to give out, this creates some criteria, what our priorities will be, in order to fund that, rather than sort of.
And to fill you both in with sort of what we've discussed so far, is that there's kind of two, for an affordable housing trust, there's kind of like 2 different major ways you can go, is like more of an active role and then more of a passive role. Active being you would, solicit for RFPs and sort of start to try to get developments and work in that direction going. And then the other passive being, more like if a developer comes and they need a gap in their funding to be closed, we might be able to help them out with that. Or maybe there's some funds that we can give people in the communities to update their housing, those sorts of things, right? Sort of basically, we've discussed more going towards the passive and being more of that role rather than being new and small town. We don't want to be actively soliciting for, development.
Plus, there's not the funds at this point to be doing a development of our own as a trust, but more of supplementing others, but.
I think there's a lot we can do in that sort of role, and be more effective too.
Yeah.
So anyway, this letter would be a good step for us to take, so.
A good example right now is the West Center Street. If there was that would be a project that they would be coming to the Affordable Housing Trust for if there was funding, but in order to, have some criteria of what that trust is supporting, this document will help that. process to say, yeah, it meets our goals or it doesn't, you know.
So I'd entertain a motion to approve, and we would all sign this letter of recommendation.
Mr. Chair, I move that we sign the letter of recommendation for the funding of fiscal year 2027 housing production plan.
I'll second that motion.
Anything further before we vote? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Our last order of general business here is to sign, this came in today, I think, right? Is to sign a letter of support for the CESB Community Investment Tax Credits. Do I have a motion? Do you want to, is there anything you want to add about this, Chris? This is pretty, they do this yearly, right? This is their yearly?
Every 3 years.
Every 3 years. So.
Yeah. So it's something the board has done before.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we sign off on the letter supporting the Community Development Corporation of South Berkshires for community investment tax credits.
I will second that.
I have a motion and a second, and if there's nothing further, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That brings me to any other topic. I don't have anything anything further to discuss, either of you gentlemen?
Nothing.
To bring
I'm all set, thank you very much.
In that case, Chris, I will throw it to you for your report.
Yeah, just a real quick update on some grants. I have good news, and we can share them now. It's been officially announced by the state, but we did receive a number of one-stop grants this year, including a paving project and sidewalk on Graylock Street connecting to the school. So that'll be funded by one of the one-stop grants. We also received the vacant storefront grant, which more information coming on that, but it will be incentives to bring, the monetary incentives for new businesses to come into any vacant storefronts in Lee. So Lenny will be kind of spearheading the road part, and Brooke will be working on that economic development piece, and more information to come. But if anyone's interested in learning more about it, she would be the person to contact for that. And then we also just found out too that we will be receiving the recycling grant again. That was the work of the Greener Gateway Committee this year as well. So just wanted to pass along that good news.
Right.
Yes, I understand that I think they listed there are 18 vacant storefronts. I mean, does that include like offices or something? Or?
Yeah, so there's thought the number was a little less than that, but that's
Seems like a lot.
Yeah, it did seem a little high, but we did do, there was an inventory done, so yeah, some of the places, the building might have multiple, spots in it too, like 71 Main Street up here, they had, when it was done, it had 3 all in that one building.
Okay.
And so I think one of those is still, but 2 of them aren't now.
I see.
Yeah.
Are there vacant outlets? Does it include those?
Don't believe that was included in there.
so-
Be downtown?
Yeah, sure.
What?
Downtown strip?
Yeah.
Well, I even
I don't know, I'm
included
just-
like Housatonic Street as well, from the turnpike up to the end of Main Street, so. And again, some things have changed since then
right.
too, so, we just had a new restaurant tonight, so
It's
those
one of
numbers,
those things
but it was
that's
in the
always,
teens.
it's always
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
bit of a flux, yeah. All right, anything else?
That's it, thanks.
Great. So our next regular meeting is December 2nd, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would make that motion.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Can I come and talk to you, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Please, yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know how these work.
We're out of order, I mean, I'm not saying you're out of order, I'm saying we're just kind of like moving along here.
My apologies.
No
We didn't
problem.
vote to adjourn yet.
Nope,
So,
just in time.
So first I want to apologize to Chris Britton. I'm Jennifer Lindsay. I've spoken to you on the phone and I just wanted to apologize to you for taking up your time.
Oh, okay.
I wrote a letter and I had packets for 3 of you. I didn't know that you would be here. I'm kind of desperate at this moment in my life. I work in Lee and I own a home on Prospect Street. And I bought my home in 2020. I had two beautiful, peaceful years. I apologize if I get emotional. And then my neighbors who own the house next door to me are Construct Inc. And Construct Inc. moved in these two, I want to call them criminals. And they have, since the day they moved in, they cut down all of my woods. That's what it looked like the day that I bought it. The page behind it shows you where they start. And it's just gone on for 3 years now. Chris recommended a lawyer to me. I've called like 10 different lawyers and no one will represent me because these people have no assets, so nothing is recoverable. And I just want somebody to hear me, and I just want to say that it's not fair that my property was destroyed for absolutely no reason. Nobody ever asked me. They had a big truck come and clear it all out, and now I have to live with this. I know it's civil, I've heard it a million times, but I've exhausted all my avenues and I don't know what to do. I wanted to let you all know. My boss told me to come and talk to the town select board, so that's why I'm here.
No, you came to the right place, and we're happy to listen, if that's the least we can do, and we'll definitely, we take these things very seriously, so.
These people are tenants, and that's what I've been screaming since day one. I own my home, and they came onto my property and cleared it all.
I'm very familiar with.
But somebody owns the property. They're tenants. Who's the?
Construct Inc.
Oh, okay, well.
And the letter states, I've spoken to Construct, I've spoken to the tenants have told me not to come to their door again. I asked them, why would you do this? Well, we didn't agree with it, but the bears. I'm like, what about the bears? The bears live here, for God's sakes.
And the bears didn't cut the trees down.
No, the bears didn't cut the trees down.
Okay.
But we have reached out to Construct as well after speaking to, as
That's why I apologize to Chris. I've been calling him and yelling at him because.
So we do it all the time.
He doesn't, that's why I wanted to bring pictures.
Okay. The problem where, again, there's a discrepancy over, the boundary, one saying one boundary and the other, and so that's where the legal part gets in as a civil matter.
We need a survey.
Well, if construct,
Yeah.
they didn't buy it yesterday, there must have been a plan, and before they got mortgaged, they had to have a surveyed plan. So I would think that would be
I've seen the property
fairly
marker. The
clear.
guy actually moved it so he could cut the trees, and then I called Construct and they put it back.
Okay.
I've called the police. I've got reports. I have no trespass. It's all spelled out in the letter. I don't want to waste your time.
No, you're not.
I'm
You're
desperate.
not. You're not
I
wasting
have to
time.
look at this crap now, and my home was beautiful.
All right.
I'm not sure if there's anything that we can do, but we'll definitely,
I mean, even if they just move them to a different property,
Yeah.
for God's
Yeah,
sakes,
that would be
you know?
Construct, we'd have to talk with them about their
Construct
options. Yeah, no, we're very familiar with them. Okay.
I'm sorry.
No,
to
thank
take
you.
your time.
No,
Hi, Bob.
don't apologize. We'll definitely look into this, and we have your contact information.
Thank you, because I mean, there's laws, you're not supposed to cut trees. It just doesn't make sense to me that poor people
Not
can
on
get away with
somebody
it.
else's, not on somebody else's
Yeah.
property.
But because you're poor, you get away with it? Like, it just makes no sense to me.
I mean, we did go up also to check and make sure there was, if there was anything on town property that we could immediately enforce, because that is
Yes,
something our
right.
tree warden and also our conservation agent, to check out if there was anything that would have been Scenic Mountain Act or Wetlands Protection Act that we could enforce in a
Right,
different
sure.
way, but unfortunately, those were not
Yeah.
something that could be enforced.
Right, on this property.
But, so just giving background, if there's maybe more ideas the board has, I'm happy to follow up.
Yeah,
on
I
them.
know, it's good to be aware
We've
of
made
it.
a couple contacts with Construct about the
Yeah.
issue as well, so.
So what'd they do with the wood? They're burning it? They have a
They
wood
cut it
burn
and
sale? What
sold
do
it.
they-
They
Oh,
cut
they
it and sold
sold it? Oh, my God. All right. Well, I'd like a chance to look at this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just devastating. I thank you very much for all your time.
Oh, sure,
We'll-
not a problem.
No, we're happy to listen, and we'll be in touch for sure.
Thank you so much.
Even if there's anything.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you for being patient and
Of course.
waiting
This
for
is
the end.
important to me.
Yeah.
No, I understand.
Everybody got it
I
too.
understand. Okay.
Thank
Nope,
you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So, we haven't adjourned yet.
No,
I think
we don't
that's
know.
our last piece of business, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we have a motion in the second.
There is a motion and a second, so I'd call for a vote. All those,
To adjourn? Yes, I would vote yes.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.